start on the end with Ellie and tell us your name, where you're from, and where you did undergrad.
Hi, I'm Ellie Sharp. I'm from Decatur, Georgia, and I went to the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. So did Lauren.
Hi, I'm Dara Kanariwala. I'm from Virginia Beach, and I went to Virginia Commonwealth University for undergrad.
Hi, I'm Mary Konak. I'm a third year, and I'm from Virginia Beach, and I went to Georgia Tech for undergrad.
Hi, I'm Lexi Wang. I'm a third year. I am from Fairfax County, and I went to UC San Diego for undergrad.
Hey, I'm Austin Sim. I was a fourth year until recently. I'm currently a first year law student. I'm from Bel Air, Maryland, and I went to Washington, St. Louis.
I'm Taylor Haight. I'm a fourth year student as well. Just applied for neurology. I'm also from Virginia, Fairfax County, and went to UVA for undergrad.
And as I said, I'm Lauren Caldwell. I'm also a fourth year student. I'm from the Atlanta area, went to University of Georgia undergrad, Go Dogs, and I applied to obstetrics and gynecology residency. So I will kick off the panel with a question that tends to be a really popular one and maybe is one that you're thinking of, but please start thinking of questions that you would like to ask and we will be open to answer them. So the first question I'll pose to our panel is, how can we as parents and family and friends best support our medical students while they're here at UVA?
All right, I guess I'll start with that one. So, when your children come to med school, they don't really change into new people per se. So whatever you've been doing, if it's been working, then you can just go with that. No, but honestly, it's not like they magically transform into another person. And so, whatever has been working, I think I would just go with that.
I would say my parents have found a good balance of trying to support me, but also letting me do my own thing. So I don't, we don't speak on the phone on a daily basis or anything, which if that works for you, that's what works for you. But my parents know not to call me because inevitably they're gonna find me when I'm busy, and instead for me to call them, and just kind of working out something like that really helps, because then I don't feel like I have to go talk at an inconvenient time, and then I actually am looking forward to talking with them. And another thing, I'm sure you guys have all heard this, is we're all very broke, and I love it when my parents come down to help me buy groceries or take me out to dinner. That's always a nice thing.
My mom also kind of stopped calling me when I started med school because I guess she thought that I was too busy. But something that I found really helpful is just being able to call and just vent, I guess. Med school can be very stressful, especially the first semester, I think, was the most stressful time for me. And then now applying and interviewing is also stressful. So just being able to pick up the phone, call, whenever I have time is really helpful, has been helpful for me.
Also, a lot of when your med student calls you will be sometimes tears or nervous breakdowns or pre-nervous breakdowns. So and I think there's nothing that you can do. You're not gonna say like, oh, I'll take your summative for you, don't worry, I got it. Like, there's nothing that you can do as a parent to actually make it better, so just listen and say, don't try to fix it because you can't. Just say, I understand, but there's a reason that you're going to med school, there's a reason you're doing this, and you're gonna get through it. I mean, they're just calling you because they want someone else to understand and appreciate how stressed they are, so just do that.
I totally agree with Ellie. I think a lot of parents and family members really want to know what you're up to and what your day looks like. And a lot of times, I have two parents with very different approaches to this. And one of my parents asks lots of questions and then wants to go into detail. I have two physician parents, so wants to go into detail about what I'm learning and how they learned it in med school. And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about that when I'm on the phone with you. So the best way to get your student to talk is, and copy this down, I'm joking, is to say, sweetie, you are working really hard, I'm so proud of you, you're doing a great job, and keep it up, and med school is really hard, and I totally understand what you're going through, it's really rough. And then just let the silence sit for a while, and then literally it'll just fountain out, I promise. Trust me.
questions that you all have.
You can ask about anything.
Yes.
What is the stress in med school?
Everything. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Since we're all at different points in our career, we should probably just go down the line because it'll be different, I'm pretty sure.
So I know for me, I'm a second year. So I know for me, the biggest transition or the biggest change was that I'm sure they've told you how for every single lecture there's a set of LOs or learning objectives that usually go up the week before, and you're theoretically supposed to have completed those learning objectives prior to the class. So usually the night before, and it was stressful for me to go from undergrad where, you could take a night off and just, watch a movie with your roommates, to if you take a night off here, you're kind of paying for it for the rest of the system. At least for me. There's also people that I guess are a lot better at managing their time than I am. And so it's stressful to adjust to life, knowing that you always have something hanging over your head and there's always school that you should be doing. And so you kind of adopt this mentality of like, well, every single hour is an hour that I could be spent studying. So my mom's actually here today from Georgia, but my mom jokes that whenever I go home, she's like, Ellie, you need to learn to sit down at the table and eat a meal. And I'm like, I can't, I need to be at the library eating my meal. So it's just the overwhelming amount of information that you could be learning, and you feel like you should be learning, is, I think, the major stressor for me. And you just always are trying to avoid being behind, but you're always behind. So just get used to that now, I guess.
So Ali and I are both, we've been through first year, now we're second year medical students, and we're in our last semester of the pre-clerkship education, I guess classroom-based education. And so having been through the majority of that, I would agree. And I think that the biggest stressor is not only the amount of information, but the sensation that no matter how much you learn and how far you go, there is still more to learn. There is still more to master, and it's like this road with no ending. And I think that sensation is what really can bring you down the most, rather than, the sheer amount of information is really overwhelming as well, but the perception makes it even stronger.
I think, so what's really stressful changes as you go through. Obviously, there's different things, and then you kind of look back and find that what really stressed you out as a first year was really nothing compared to what's coming. So, and then I think if you think about it like that, in 10 years, and I'm looking back and I just worked almost 80 hours, and then I forgot to change out of my scrubs and woke up on the couch, and now it's 6 a.m. and I have to go back to work. What's happening to me? I'm not gonna remember that stuff. I'm gonna remember all the really great memories I made here, that one patient who really made an impact on you, and you're gonna be fine. It's gonna be okay. So I think it's important to remember that whether you're stressing out about a summative, or you're stressing out about step one, or whatever you're stressing out about, you're gonna get through it. It's gonna be fine. There's a lot of really great support here. The deans are awesome, and you have each other and you have friends. And so just think 10 years from now, it's all gonna be okay, and you'll have gotten through it.
So I think it's easy to say that my biggest stressor up to this point has been step one, which you'll probably hear your students talk about. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much, but anyway, it was probably my biggest stressor. I was having nightmares leading up to it for several weeks in a row, so that was pretty bad. But afterward, I think now I'm in third year. So I'm in third year now. I'm doing the clerkships, and I'm still stressed, but it's a different kind of like acuity of stressness that step one was. So I think now my biggest issue is kind of balancing being a good student in the wards and really caring about your patients and learning about your patients at the same time, studying what the shelf exam wants you to know, and that's not always the same thing. And so kind of just like finding a good balance between how much should I be investing in my clinical learning and in the wards and with my patients versus how much I should be learning of textbook answers and studying for that test at the end of the block, which is going to be my grade, and I need to figure out a good way to make sure I do both. That's probably my biggest stressor.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with what's been said already. Me personally, I'm kind of in a weird place. I don't know if my current stressors are really relevant to this forum, so I'll kind of stay away from that. But kind of as a fourth year, it's kind of a weird mix because it's completely elective time, so you can take what you want to take. And generally, there's a bit more free time than you have during your clerkships. But at the same time, to be preparing your application, getting ready for residency interviews, and kind of gearing up for that whole process, which is another stressor in and of itself. I guess I'll turn it over to Taylor to talk more about that since I'm not doing that right now.
Yeah, I do agree with what everyone else said, and I think that looking back in the past few years, the stress really kind of comes in waves. So the first year, first test is probably like a huge stressor, and for me, the whole first semester was really difficult, just trying to figure out how much I need to study, what I need to know, and all of that. And then for me, like second year, I kind of like hit my stride with studying, and like the second year was great. Like second semester, first year, and second year was pretty low stress. And then you have step one, and then that's a huge stressor, like we just heard. Then you get a little bit of a break after that, and then starting clerkships for me was a huge stressor. You just have no idea what to expect or any of that. And so it really does depend on what year you're in. It depends on which thing is going to be the most stressful. And for me now, I'm applying for residency, and that's just a totally different kind of stress. Like this is probably similar to applying to med school, but scheduling interviews is stressful, paying for everything is stressful. So I think it just really kind of comes in waves, and you just kind of like those transition points are what's stressful for me, I think.
But we're all really happy. Other questions that we can answer?
I was just gonna piggyback off the happiness thing, just because it really is true. I don't know. I have lots of friends at other medical schools, and they always are looking at my Facebook pictures and are just like, I don't think you're actually gonna be a doctor because you're having too much fun. So UVA does a great job of organizing as many events and trips and class bonding experiences, and it really, really makes a difference. I mean, I went to the #1 party school in the country, and I still have had more fun in med school, but I think it's because of the people here. The people in your class and in the other classes are amazing, and because this is such an intense environment, you become very close very fast. Like you will surprise yourself by the end of the year, you'll feel like you knew these people since you were 2 years old. So and UVA does a great job of that. So we're really happy, at least. But I think everybody.
We are happy.
One of the questions I've been asked by two sets of parents this morning is how frequently should parents try to call their children that are in medical school? And since you are the experts, it would be good to hear from you how to answer that question appropriately.
Yeah, I can comment on that. Texting is a miracle because we can do that much more easily, and it's a much more convenient method of communication, I guess, for our generation, than listening to voicemails. And so if you want to, get on our level and get Snapchat and text and whatever, like, whatever you gotta do to keep in touch, do that. And my dad recently switched over from calling to texting, and I get back to him really quick, much more quicker than I think I used to before. Yeah, feel free to send a positive thought to your kid every once in a while, and it's totally dependent on your student and whatever you discuss with them. It really varies.
Also, if you have pets, send them pet pictures, because that always makes me really happy.
So I'm kind of on the other side of the coin. I tend to be the one who I prefer to reach out to my parents instead of the other way around, because like I was saying, they either call me when I'm studying or I'm at something, and the timing doesn't work out. So my parents also know, I finally trained them, I think, to text me if they really need to reach me, and that otherwise I would call them. And so I try to call them. I know it's going to sound scary to you probably now. I try to call them every few weeks or so, which doesn't seem that often, but honestly, there's not that much that changes day to day, So it's like, they'll ask you, 3 weeks later, like, oh, how's your life? It's like, it's the same as it was 3 weeks ago. I'm still studying. I just have a different system. So I just don't feel the need to call out often, but and it's not because we're not close or anything. Stuff doesn't really change that much in med school. Yeah, we kind of, my mom's always like, how's life outside of school? And I'm like, it's the very same as it's been, because I don't have that much life outside of school. So it's kind of like that. And then, but I know some other, one of my best friends in med school calls her mom every single day, because that's just her way of winding down from the day. So it varies really. But I would say the best, I don't know, in my opinion, I would say the best is kind of just back off at first and let your kid take over the show about how much they want to talk to you.
I would say my parents and I have come to we've trained each other, I think, to expect a phone call every Sunday afternoon, and that's our ritual. And so they expect me to call on Sundays. I carve it out in my day to call on Sundays, and the whole family gets on the extended lines, and that's our time. So having that planned, shockingly, med students like to plan things, so having it planned when you're going to have those conversations can also help.
Yeah, I talk to my mom at least once a week, but like I said, I'm always the one who calls her. I think both my parents just kind of reverted to texting instead of calling, which is fine because they don't necessarily know what I'm doing. But yeah, I don't know. I call once a week.
But also, like Austin said at the beginning, they're still your child. They're the same person that you've known for whatever, 23 years or however old you guys are. And so for me, if my parents just stop calling me, I'd be like, why don't they want to talk to me? This is sad. So, make sure that you still tell them that you're there and that you love them, and show them signs of outside life, because that's important. Sometimes we don't really know what's going on outside of the learning studio. But just maintain normalcy, otherwise things will seem even weirder. But also, I think that what Lauren says with having everyone get on the phone at the same time is nice, because when we're all about optimizing time, it's annoying to call mom and tell a story, and then call dad and tell the exact same story, and then have dad ask the exact same questions and have the exact same thing over. And then with my dad, he never remembers because he's just spacey. So then the next week he'll be like, oh wait, so why are you doing renal right now? It's like, Dad, we literally just had this conversation. Anyway, so just if you can have a family chat, I think that might be a good idea, but just make sure that you're still being you to your child.
I think what Ellie said, because she just reminded me, it's really important to remind your kids of stuff outside of medicine, because it's so easy for us to fall into this hole. And I remember it was last year? It must have been last year. I don't know. See, this is how behind up the times I am. My mom called me and she was like, oh, blah, 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 stuff is happening in Syria. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, we might go to war. What? And I had no idea. And it's just, you just lose track of things. And so it's just nice to have someone outside of the field or someone who's not in your room, who's always studying with you, come and be like, oh, there is other things going on, and remind you of that. And so that's helpful.
The other thing to remember is that your students are all incredible, and you know that. We're telling you something you already know. They're now in a class of 155 other incredible people, and so you might be the only person day to day that's their individual cheerleader. So you might be the person that's telling them, we still think that you are special and you are unique, and we know you're with 155 other incredible people, and maybe you don't feel so extraordinary today, but we want to tell you you are. So don't feel like you play a very valuable role in your students' morale, and I think it's important to remember that.
Yeah, I'll second that. I definitely called my parents first year and being like, I'm so stupid, why am I so stupid? But like, it's nice to have the perspective of someone who knows you and who's like, no, you're not, like, I promise you're not stupid. So that's always a good thing. Also, something that struck me in talking to my parents throughout medical school is it's like a really weird process if you're not familiar with it. Like the match process, trying to explain that to my family, like it makes no sense to people who just like haven't, learned about it like we have. So, hear things like, oh, well, I'm sure you'll get into all the programs you apply to. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. So, I think it's a great idea to ask your student about the process and become familiar with it, just because I think it makes things easier to kind of get on the same page.
I think,
No, go.
yeah, I think, I know this sounds kind of weird because I know we just talked about texting and how that's good, but I think like nothing really replaces the like random care package or letter because it's kind of cool to get mail. I don't know.
Especially